Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you, everybody, for coming to tonight's Mishmar. The subject is Shabbos. We're going to talk about the amazing power of Shabbos, and we're going to basically see it through the lens of the Parsha. Okay? So if anyone wants to open the Chumash, it's Shemos, chapter 31, Posuk 12. So Shemos, Kisisa, Lamed Aleph, Yud Beis. And in the middle of the Parsha, there's a little few psukim talking about Shabbos. As we know, with the Mishkan, Shabbos gets thrown in quite a few times, because we know there's a connection between all the laws of the Shabbos are derived from the building of the Mishkan. That's not our subject for tonight, so I'm not going to focus on that. I'd like to focus on Shabbos. Now, first of all, the Gemara says in Shabbos as follows: Matana tova yesh beis ganazai. I have a beautiful gift, says Hashem, in my treasure house, and I want to give it. Hashem tells Moshe, I want to give it to the Jewish people. Lech v'hoidiyam, but go and make it known for them. Make it known to them first. So the question is, why did Hashem, before he gave the gift of Shabbos, he says, make it known to them first? Any suggestions, anyone?
Make what known?
Make it known. I've got a beautiful gift called Shabbos. Go and tell them that about this special gift. So no, just about Shabbos. Tell them that it's a special gift. Anybody? Why do you think it's important to tell them about the gift?
Because you enjoy it.
Oh, so enjoy it. But let's think a second. When you give,
You're going to have to use it.
oh, you're going to have to use it. Oh, so for example, now everyone knows for those who are married, and for those who will be married, means Hashem soon, with Mazel and Bracha, when you give that engagement ring, you don't need to say, hey, be careful, this costs a lot of money. Right? You don't need to say that. You don't say, this is really expensive. He's not sure. You could say this is a family heirloom. If it was something very unique, this is a family heirloom, and you'd say, then you would need to say. You never say, it's from Argos. I've got a good deal in the what's it called? Black Sunday, whatever it is. Yes, that was called Black Monday. Black Friday, Black Monday. I've got it in the sale. Right, you'd have to say it's expected that it's good quality. But if somebody generally just gives you a gift, they could just buy you a nice watch. You don't know. If you want them to know this is really unique, this isn't just a watch. This is a can't be out somebody with a nice name of a watch. Porsche watch. Who? A Duck Philippe. Patek Philippe. Yes. Watch. Then you want to tell them. You say this, Matt, is a really beautiful watch. This is really expensive, right? And it's gold. Real gold, and actually every second that goes by, strikes another piece of gold. There's all diamonds studded underneath each one. You want to make sure it's not glass there; it's real diamonds. So you want to make sure that you can actually see it. So lech v'yidiyam, it's the same thing. There's many mitzvahs. All the mitzvahs we have are precious, but the mitzvah Shabbos, go and tell them this is really unique. And actually, by keeping Shabbos every week, what can happen? We just take it for granted. Shabbos is here again. So one of the things we need to remind ourselves about, and that's why we're dedicating tonight's year devoted to strengthen ourselves in Shabbos. We shouldn't take it for granted to ourselves. There's a beautiful gift called Shabbos Shema. Okay, so there's also a beautiful story in the Gemara as well. It reminds me, because we just had some nice cholent. There's a story of an emperor who was brought some food, Shabbos food, and he tasted this food. Okay. So already Leil Shish, that's the Thursday Leil Shish already. The Kedusha of Shabbos is already in the air. That's why we've had the Shabbos food. And it said there was this emperor called the Ram. Said, hey, I wonder what's the recipe for this. This cholent is amazing. Like I want to. So they told me there's potatoes and barley and beans and a bit of garlic and onion and a bit of paprika. Anything else? I missed out salt, pepper. Anything else? Beans, butter beans, baked beans. I didn't miss anything else. Meat. Yeah, so he's got some good stuff in it. So he told her anyway. So he got his chefs to make the recipe, and he actually and he called the rabbi. He said, "Didn't taste anything like yours. Did you miss anything out?" So yeah, of course there was a special spice. So what's it called? It's called Shabbos. It's called Shabbos. Shabbat. All right, it's called Shabbat Kodesh. Yeah, it's called Shabbos. That's a special spice. There's something about the Kedusha of Shabbos. You can even taste it in the food. And actually it says there's a story of one of the great Chassidic Rebbe, since we're learning Chassidus tonight, from the Be'er Maim Chaim. There's one of the great Chassidic Rebbes called the Be'er Maim Chaim, and they said on Shabbos he was 1 foot taller. He didn't wear boots or heels on his shoes either. Yeah, he grew an extra foot on Shabbos. So it had such an impact on him that actually he grew from it. So Shabbos catching, and that's one of the things we're going to look at now. We'll look at the Pesukim, and then we're going to see through the Chassidic lens some interesting ideas. So let's have a look inside the Pesukim. So Hashem said to Moshe, Yud Gimel, Va'ato, and you, Dabel b'nei, speak to the Bnei Yisrael, Lamor, saying, you got it? Yeah? Yeah? Speak to Bnei Yisrael saying, Ach, however, Es Shab Soy Sai Tishmeru, my Shabbos, my Sabbaths, plural, Tishmeru, you should keep or you should guard. Okay? It's interesting. Many people say it's a strange word. This word we're going to see it comes up a lot about Shabbos, and we see when one of the things we say is a person, somebody who keeps Shabbos. We use the word they're called a shomer Shabbos, which is very interesting. We see the word a shomer Shabbos. What that means? It's going to come a lot. We're going to explain that concept. Ach es Shabbosai tishmeru, my Sabbaths you shall guard. Why is it plural? Because you'll see as we carry on, the rest of the verses are going to mention Shabbos as singular. We'll see. Ki oisi. Guard my Shabbos, my Sabbaths, ki oisi. It is a sign, beini veinechem, between me and between you, l'doiroi seichem, for everlasting, for all generations. And that's what you see. We see Shabbos wasn't only when you're in a desert. People say Shabbos is prehistoric. Shabbos doesn't apply when we've got electric lights. Shabbos applies to when you're working in a field. Shabbos doesn't apply to when you've got mobile phones or when you've got a car. That's not going to work. No. It's guard Shabbos l'doiroi seichem, for all generations. Shabbos, the principles of Shabbos apply to generations. Ladas, in order you should know. Remember that word? Da'at, know. Ki ani Hashem makadshchem, I am Hashem who makes you holy. I am Hashem who's makadosh you. Okay? 2 contents there. Okay, next. U'shamartem es Shabbos. You should guard Shabbos, singular. Ki kodesh lachem, because it is holy to you. Machalaleh mois yumos. Somebody who profanes it shall surely die. And many of the Chassidic works say, Machalalel, somebody, it's not, people often think about the one who profanes it, mois yumos, it's actually saying of him, Machalalel, mois yumos, actually tells us, if you want to know what the reward for something is, sometimes the consequences, there's no punishment in the Torah, it's always consequences. So the consequence is death. It doesn't mean, it's not punishment, it's a consequence, which means Shabbos is, by keeping Shabbos is, it's the source of life. Ki makar bracha. Moishimas. Ki kola isa bo malacha v'nichros and never shemek aravama. Anybody does malacha on Shabbos, they'll be cut off their soul from the people. Okay. So that's the first part, okay, of the Pesukim. So we see language. The first part is Tishmuru. Now look very carefully about the next part and see something different. Look carefully. Sheishish yamim, still going, verse 15. Sheishish yam yasem malacha. On 6 days you shall do the work of Yom HaShvi. Sorry, that's why the English refused to accept the Torah. You know that all nations of the world were offered the Torah. They offered the French. He said, what's in it? It says you've got to be moral. I said, oh, not for me. Yeah? And they came and they asked other nations, the way I said, you can't steal. And they said, don't steal. They came to the English, said, I'll get off the Torah. What did the English say? Say, what's written? They say, 6 days you should work. So I don't know, forget what I was going to say. Yeah. But by Yom HaShvi, on the 7th day, Shabbaton, it's a Shabbos for you. Kodesh Lashem. It's holy to God. Kolos Malacha B'Yom HaShabbos. Okay. Again, just stressing the same thing, 6 days a week. Now, let's carry on. That's the first part. Second part. V'shamru, should recognize this. Where do we say this? V'shamru b'nei Yisrael es Shabbos. And the Jewish people should guard Shabbos. La'asois es Shabbos. To make Shabbos. L'doiro, some again for generations. Bris olam, an everlasting covenant. Beini, this covenant is, this promise. Beini vein b'nei Yisrael is between me and between the b'nei Yisrael. Ois hilolam, this is an everlasting sign. Ki shesh is yom that Hashem created the world. Es hashmayim v'saris, the heavens and the earth. And on the 7th day, Shavas vayinofash, Shavas, he ceased from creation. Yeah, doesn't mean he rested. They just translate it means he ceased from creating. God doesn't rest; he doesn't get tired. Vayinofash, and he was refreshed. And the Gemara learns that Vayinofash, he pumped into the creation an extra dimension to the So that's a Gemara Beitza says. So he ceased creation. So therefore we ceased creating. Now remember, it's an important thing. When we create, what happens when we create? We create when a human being creates. What's the difference between when God creates and when a human being creates at the time of creation?
We create from something.
We create from something called Yesh Me Yesh. When Hashem created the creation, it was Yesh Me Ayin. Because we know that Hashem creates every second. The world is constantly being created. Every day, Chol Yom Tomid. Yeah, the world's being consecrated. So you can say, Hashem doesn't rest on Shabbos. What happens on Shabbos? Hashem, the sun rises, things are still growing. Yeah? So no, God ceased from His creation. He's created His, it's like for nothing. Things which are already created continue to grow. Okay? That's the simple answer to that question. Okay. Can anybody see a difference between the first part and the second part? So V'shomar b'nei Yisrael, we say it 3 times over Shabbos. When do we say V'shomar b'nei Yisrael? I remember.
Amida.
We say in the Amida when? Which Amida?
Mus.
Try again.
No.
Anyone else? Got Shachris. Shachris we say it. When else do we say V'shomar b'nei Yisrael?
Kiddush.
Kiddush when?
Shabbos day.
Shabbos day. And when else do we say it? V'shomar b'nei Yisrael. Unless you follow the Vilna Gaon and live Friday night we say it in Davening before the Amida. So we say it 3 times. Okay? V'shomar Yisrael. So you've got 2 parts. I want you to just have a look carefully. Can you see anything different from V'shomar is the second part we read and the first part? One point I showed you, it's mentioned in Shabbos, is mentioned plural, Shabbos Sosai. That's the first, whereas elsewhere it just says Shabbos. But can you mention anything else? You have 10 seconds.
One is passive, one's active, one's
Oh.
B'nai Yisrael.
Oh, very good. Very good. The first time doesn't mention B'nai Yisrael at all. Do you notice that? My Sabbath you shall guard, it's a sign between me and you for generations, I am Hashem, and it tells you the consequences of it. 7th day, it doesn't mention B'nai Yisrael. Why is B'nai Yisrael only mentioned in the second part? Okay, so that's question number 2. Question number 1 is, why does it say Shabbos plural? Question number 2 is, why is B'nai Yisrael only mentioned in the second part of Shabbos, but not in the first part? And the third question is, there's something also added in the second part which is not in the first part. Can anyone spot it? Bris is in the second part, is it in the first part as well? It's interesting, Bris is not mentioned there. So one of the other things is the word la'asot. It's not mentioned in the first, it doesn't say that. What's la'asot mean? It means to be proactive to. Is that what you're referring to, yeah? La'asot is to be, is to do. It doesn't, yeah? In the second it says la'asot is Shabbos. Whereas in the first part it doesn't say. So in order to explain this, we're going to share a nice, beautiful Chassidic idea. Are you ready? Everybody comfortable? Have we got the seatbelts fastened? Okay. Okay. So we take off into the spiritual worlds. Okay. This one I'm showing you is from a sefer called Nesiva Shalom, which is from the teachings of the Slonim Chassidic school. I was merited to see him. I never spoke to the Rebbe who wrote this, previous Rebbe. One of the things about Slonim Chassidus, they say, because it was in Lithuania, so they say the Chassidus is, they call it the Litvish Chassidus, the Chassidus. It's like closest to the yeshiva world, and it's interesting. This work has been accepted amongst all circles, not just because they may have said they've actually translated something. We've seen in the translations. They've translated actually on Shabbos. He's got one. This is on the Sedras, but he's got actually 1 volume just on Shabbos. The whole sefer is just on Shabbos, and they've taken excerpts and introduced them into English. Yeah, no advertising. Okay, go to Torah Treasures. Oh, yeah. Okay. So now let me share these ideas with you. Okay. So one of the things is, as always in Chassidus, also there's different angles, different perspectives, or what the term used is something called a bechina. There's different categories or different perspectives of how to label things, coming from a different angle. So he actually brings down here, says he basically wants to say that when it says Shabbos, Shabbos my Sabbath, is because there's not just one Shabbos. There are different dimensions to Shabbos. He's going to say that, and he's actually in this piece, he's going to say there's 2 different dimensions, 2 different ways, complete different angles of how we should look at Shabbos. and that's what it's referring to in the first part. We'll see why it's not so in the second part. He's going to say how he's going to explain it. It's the first few pasukim talk about the first aspect of Shabbos from one perspective, and then from the second part talks from the second perspective. Okay, and so the first thing is as follows. So he quotes from the Zohar Kodesh. So it says in the Kabbalah, in the writings of the Zohar, says like this. There's a very important word. If you look back in your Pesukim, there's a very important word over here, and that is in verse Pasuk Yud Gimel. Speak to the children that my Shabbos you shall guard, because it's a sign between me and you for all generations. And here are the key words. Everyone got it? The end of verse 3. Gimel. Ladas ki ani Hashem Elokeichem. Mekachchem, because I am Hashem who makes you. Ladas, what does das mean?
No.
Knowledge. But das isn't just mean knowledge. Das, in Chassidus, we know if you look according to the teachings of Kabbalah, what does das mean? Anybody?
I mean, I remember to know. I mean, to know it's as well having intimate relation with.
If you want to know, the Vilna Gaon says, if you want to know and understand the concept, you always have to look into the Torah. When was the first time it's mentioned? The first time the word das is it? And Adam knew Eve. And what does that mean? Then she conceived. Right? So it's one of the things over here, actually what it means is, it means a level of intimacy. So das. But actually in the spheres, we're going to see...
That's as well, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, one of the things is...
the actual conceptual part of knowledge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So basically we've got here, it is for, I'm sure everyone around the table knows these concepts, right? So we'll just go over to make sure everyone's got it clear. So you know, in the teachings of Chabad, who's Chabad? Chabad. Lubavitch has used the term Chabad. What does Chabad really mean? Chabad stands for Chochma, Bina, and Das. Chochma means wisdom, Bina means understanding, and Das means knowledge. But they're 3 out of the 10 Kabbalistic concepts called spheres. The top 3 are Kezer, Chochma, Bina, Das. So they're the 3 high levels. Then you've got the 7 low levels. But for us, where we need to know here, Chochma, what's Chochma mean? Chochma means wisdom. So in the Zohar it says Chochma actually means wisdom, means the mind, moyach, the intellectual part of a person, the understanding. That's one part, Chochma. Then you have Bina, which is the heart. Which with Bina, understanding, that's the intuition. Like it says, women have something called Bina Yasera. They have a lot extra understanding, intuition, because women have a sensitivity and understanding from the heart. So Chochma, Bina, and what's Das? Das, as we said, is it's the merger of both of them. Okay, that's the intimacy between the mind and the heart, between the intellectual and the emotional. Yeah.
How do you get, say, some knowledge or some information to trickle down and become doubt, to become Bina? How do you?
Oh, excellent question.
Because I'm reading something, and Chochma, in a way, it's the wider spectrum knowledge, the bigger picture, and Bima is much more the detailed.
Yeah, it's a breaking day. Yeah. And Das
is the actual result of that process.
Of that process. So he said it's a merger of both.
Yeah.
But Leroy's asking a different question. He's actually asking how to transfer something down from Chochma, which is wisdom, or down into the heart, which in Das is actually going to be part of the person himself. The whole school of Musa is about that, because basically what we're saying is you've got the mind is here and the heart is there, and Rabbi Yisrael Salanta says the same distance there is between there and there is further away than heaven and earth. So we all know a lot of stuff. We can all know a lot of information, but the goal is to transform that and internalize that. That's what you're asking, from mind into the heart and then into Das, which is Das is consciousness. That's really into your being, to one's essence. How do you do that? So there's lots of different approaches. One approach is the school of Musa. They'll go this school, and there's the school of Chassidus. In the school of Chassidus, the goal of Shabbos is that. That's what Shabbos is all about. The day of Shabbos is dedicated. During the week, we can collect a lot of information. During the week, we can get a lot of raw information, and we can analyze it, the Bina. There's a lot of the emotional understanding and the intellectual connection. Shabbos is a day of Das. That's what Shabbos is about. Why? Why Shabbos is a day of Das? Anybody? Why we achieve that?
Use the space.
Because you got first of all, on a practical level, we're not distracted by the physical material world. That's the purpose of Shabbos. The purpose of Shabbos is actually to take all those messages and to contemplate it and meditate and bring them down. But also, on Shabbos, we'll see in a moment, we are sent up into a new level. We can reach, Shabbos reaches parts that no other day can reach. Okay?
Robert,
Yeah.
is that also then the different the three spirit to do with Friday night meal, Saturday, and then third meal is das? Because is that
Yeah, could be. But yeah, it's a funny thing. It does go because we've got Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, but the meals don't go that way.
Mm-hmm.
The meals are not the meals. Yaakov is the third meal, yes. So that's das, yeah. But it promise you can't always go with the. It's a bit complex because it's the lower spheres. It's a bit lower down. Chesed, Gevura,
okay?
Tiferes, which are the next levels down. We're a higher plane. We're not there. We're the top three spheres which are out of this world above. That's why on Shabbos we can connect with them. Okay? By the way, the Chassidim say, so you know, if you take the word das, it's the same word. If you jumble the letters, spell the word adas. Adat. What does adat mean? Adat means congregation, community. How do you get to a level of das? By being together with your community, being together, by sitting together, by davening together, by eating together, and that's why the Chassidim is a big thing, to go to the Rebbe and have a dish, because that's actually, you can grasp things which you couldn't grasp alone, but the level that we reach together with a minyan or with a community, you can get to a new level and say, we're not an individual, we're a level of community, we're in a higher plane. So that's our das. So our das, community is das, we get to the level of das. Okay, now we understand. If you look, what was the tree called that Adam and Chava should not have eaten from? It was called the tree of,
Knowledge.
in Hebrew, the Eitzah das. Now you understand why? Because it was the misusing of das. It was to use das in the wrong way. And that's what das is an understanding. So we've got here. So he says as follows. He quotes like this. He says, we need to look at Shabbos. The first thing we can look at Shabbos is from Hashem's perspective. Let's forget us, because we saw in the first part of Sukkim, Bnei Yisrael is not mentioned. Bnei Yisrael is only mentioned in the second part. So we're going to look at Bnei Yisrael's perspective. That's the second phase. So the two aspects of Shabbos, the two perspectives are, one is from Hashem, the God perspective, and the other aspect of Shabbos is the human perspective, from down here, from us. So he describes it first. There's a concept in the Zohar called Isarusa de Le'ila. Anybody come across that? Isarusa de Le'ila? Anybody come across that expression of anybody? Yeah, Ashley? How do you understand it? Sorry to throw a Kabbalistic concept here. Oh, so literally it means Hitorut Mele'ila, an awakening from above. There's different things, just like in a person's life. Sometimes we're stirred from, we make a decision to lift ourselves up, and sometimes we can make a decision because something happened, external factors. Well, I've got to wake up now. Yeah. So the same thing. Shabbos is Isarusa Zaleh. It's an awakening from outside. On Shabbos, Shabbos is an awakening from outside. That whatever level we're on, doesn't matter. There is an awakening. We don't have to do anything. A Yom Tov is different. A Yom Tov is from Isrus L'Talta. It's an awakening from down. We have to. The Beis Din have to choose the date through the month and the calendar. Okay, so the same thing. So he says Shabbos is actually very much from God. So he said, listen to this. Shabbos is Kodesh Kodoshim. From God's perspective, Shabbos is the Holy of Holies. It's Isrus L'Talta. It is the highest level of revelation, which automatically, when we reach that time of Shabbos, what happens? There's a certain light is switched on. As I saw it in the booklet written by the big Tzaddik who now lives in America, called Rabbi Pinchas Young. You may have heard him speak. He's spoken in London a few times when he's here, Fishman B'ni and others. So I wrote a little booklet on Shabbos, and there he says that Shabbos is being like, imagine you've lost a needle. Let's make it more valuable, a diamond. You lost a diamond in a dark room, and you're searching around the dark room. That's what the weekday is like. The weekday is trying to find Hashem and trying to find our inner selves, our neshama. During the week, it's like trying to find a diamond in a dark room. Shabbos is the light gets switched on. That's a different perspective. Now, even if it's switched on for a very short time, you can see the room, the layout, are very different things now. So even if it's for a short time, it gives us perspective for the whole week. And he says here, that's what Shabbos, from Hashem's perspective, the whole world is elevated. And it shines a light into a person, automatically, whatever level a person's on, it's unrelated to us. That means Shabbos, this aspect of Shabbos, from the God perspective, it's irrelevant what level you're on. It's for all from God. And he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu me'ira b'moicha v'liba ve'ivarav. HaKadosh Baruch Hu shines a light, switches the light in a person's mind, in his heart, and in his limbs of every Yid. It's the most amazing thing, that he switches on the light. There's a clarity. And many of you think to yourself, well, I don't get that on Shabbos, I get heartburn. On Shabbos. Yeah, especially after children. Anybody got heartburn yet? You will get it soon, okay? That's why the whiskey, you can have another whiskey when you want to. So, there's something which is said before, but it affects, this light goes on every single part, it switches the line. Now, one of the reasons is we're distracted on Shabbos. The Yetzer Hara is also working on Shabbos, by the way. He's not showing a Shabbos, the Yetzer Hara. Yeah, he doesn't take the day off to say, oh, it's Shabbos. Yom Kippur, they say on Yom Kippur, the Yetzer Hara, he doesn't say he doesn't work, he says he's not makatrig. There's no accusation, he doesn't accuse them. It doesn't mean he's not working. People think, oh, there's no Yetzer Hara in Yom Kippur. Man, there's Yetzer Hara in Yom Kippur, yeah? For sure there is, yeah. So he doesn't go away. So he's working on Shabbos as well. So one of the things we need to connect with, say, well, there's this light on, and there's this clarity in this dark room of Shabbos. Hashem put this incredible light down here. But if we spend a whole Shabbos talking about single malt whiskies, then we've missed the point. We haven't connected to that light. Now, there's nothing wrong with saying, well, I love single malt whiskies. There's nothing wrong, but if that comes your whole focus, that covers everything, then you can actually lose the opportunity there. Because as we said, there's the social part of Shabbos is very important. The adas, the communal part of Shabbos, is a very important part. But we shouldn't forget the spiritual part, the godly aspect. He says there's a light going which is switched on our mind, in our heart, our emotions are tuned in a different level, and even our bodies. As I told you before, the Be'er Mechaim, he even grew, he was so connected, he grew a foot taller. When this light was switched on, the new spiritual energy of Shabbos came in, he grew a foot taller. It's the most amazing thing. I want to see you all on Shabbos. I want to see you up there. Okay.
Can I ask something?
Yes. One second. Let me just finish this. And he says this is all alluded to in the verse where we just said ladas, to know I am Hashem. Hashem gives us this das. Yes. Question. And we'll explain on that.
Some people Chassidic, or they extend Shabbat a couple of days after. I read somewhere. There are some people that because in a way we cannot bring Shabbat after the time, but we can extend it though in a way. Which is the source that says
it's a Gemara. The Gemara says there's something called a concept called Tosefes Shabbos, which everyone does. The mitzvah, it's a Torah commandment according to many opinions, which is to add just 1 minute at the beginning, 1 minute at the end. We have a custom that we add on, depending on the community. In England, it's 15, some say 18 minutes. In Israel, it's longer, depending. And we add in Shabbos at the end. That's why you have different times. Or when Shabbos goes out, some say this time, some say that. There is a custom because of Shabbos. The Chassidim say ma'achrin maseis men Shabbos laharin lovai. There's an inyan because we love Shabbos. We want to keep it with us, right? So we want to delay Shabbos. So many Chassidim, they keep the time of Rabbeinu Tam, which makes it longer, and many Chassidim will carry on for a couple of hours after. There's one Rebbe whom we're aware of called the Amshinova Rebbe. Have you ever heard of the Amshinova? The Amshinova Rebbe. He has completely different times. Different his calculation of times is a completely different thing. But nobody keeps Shabbos to Tuesday, as far as I'm aware. The halacha is that the concept, the energy of Shabbos lasts till Tuesday. If you didn't make Havdalah, you can make Havdalah until Tuesday night. But we don't keep Shabbos till then. That's if a person's traveling, he forgot to make Havdalah, and you can make Havdalah till Tuesday. But you could theoretically keep Shabbos till Tuesday. Haven't met anyone who can. Yeah, technically you could. You keep Shabbos till Tuesday. Yeah. It doesn't
say you shall do work for 6 days. In which case,
is there an obligation? You're asking, is there an obligation to work for 6 days? That's a share for another time. Okay. Is it obligation? It doesn't say you must work. It's rishus. It's optional. If you don't have to work, you don't have to work. If you inherited a lot of money, you won the lottery, you don't have to work. That's the
Not
most common.
yeah.
Like it says about meat, you should eat kosher food. It doesn't say you have to eat meat. If you don't like meat, you don't have to have it. It's not. It's rishus. It's called an optional. So yeah. Okay, let's go back to Shabbos. So he says here, this is the concept of Shabbos Tishmer Yushagad, because ladas, to know that I'm Hashem. What does it mean, ladas? That is the concept of ladas. He said, because when it says the word between me and you, to know that I'm Hashem, what that means is ladas. He says the whole concept is that is the shidduch between the heart and the mind, between the emotions and the intellectual. So that's what Shabbos says. Shabbos is that merging together of both. And he says that that's what happens on Shabbos. Shabbos is the das. It's all about das. It's Shabbos, as we said, elevates us, shines upon us onto every yid with the chokhmah, the wisdom, into the mind, into the heart, the bina, and filters down through a person's thoughts, his opinions. Everything is different on Shabbos. On Shabbos you can think differently. The halacha says on Shabbos you should walk differently. Everyone know the halacha? On Shabbos the halacha is. Anybody seen the Shabbos walk? You're not seeing the Shabbos. You don't know the Shabbos walk.
Slow.
Yeah, you should walk slowly on Shabbos. Children, because it's fun, they're allowed to run on Shabbos. But it's forbidden to run for an adult for Shabbos. And there's a big dilemma because there's a mitzvah. When you're going to do a mitzvah, it's a mitzvah to run to do the mitzvah. So when you're going to shul on Shabbos morning, you've got a dilemma. On one hand, it's Shabbos, you have to walk slowly. On the other hand, you're going to do a mitzvah, so you should run. So what should you do?
Brisk walk.
As well. So actually, you should say the first few steps slowly, and then speed up. So because it's slowly because it's Shabbos, and then you can speed up. But we don't run on Shabbos. That's it. We don't run Shabbos. We're running the whole week like a mashugna, running around. Slow down. Okay, that's one of the things the Eight Sahara. Oh, in a hurry, right? Remember, it's all about the mind. It's all about where our mind is. About das. Das is a place. Shabbos is a place. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, etc. It says, Shabbos is a different world. When we enter Shabbos, we actually get put into a new zone. HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts us into a new place. However, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael es Shabbos. B'nei Yisrael need to guard Shabbos, because on this place, on this island called Shabbos, there's no sadness. There's no worry. No worries. There's no depression. There's no concerns. There's no fights. And as soon as we get into any of those, there's no worries about the material world or the future. And once we get into that zone, we leave. We get thrown off the island. For Shomeru B'nai Yisrael, the Jewish people guard Shabbos. We make sure that we're careful in order that we don't lose being in that special place, in that special world called Shabbos. That's the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, who was a good Sfar. He wasn't a Chassid, he was a good Sephardi Kabbalist. Okay? It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
That's some good Sephardis around.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same school. It's called Judaism. Okay, so anyway. So, where we hold this, he says here, everything changes. A person should be on Shabbos, Shehiluch Machshavasai, the thought pattern and his opinion on Shabbos should change because of this shiny light that's coming in. As far as God's perspective is going, everything should be different. The light switch on, I should be thinking different on Shabbos. By the way, it's brought down in the name of the Chassidic Rebbes. They say, if you want, we know Shabbos is Me'ein Olam Haba. It's a taste of the world to come. So if we want to know, what your world to come is like, I want to know what's my portion like? What will it be like there? What's your Shabbos like? How do you feel on Shabbos? How to utilize your Shabbos? That's a little taster of what's to come. So if you don't, it's up to us. So in other words, we've got to be proactive, says the Shabbos. We've got to be proactive over here. So we'll see. We've got to be proactive. If we let our minds just run away, we're not going to be able to connect this. This is all happening, but it's our choice whether we plug into it or connect to it. That's our choice. And we have to make that. So he says on Shabbos, we see, listen to this. As far as God's perspective, we get a new brain on Shabbos. Anybody seen The Wizard of Oz? Who needed a brain? The Scarecrow. Yeah, the Scarecrow needed a brain. On Shabbos, we're all scarecrows and we all get the new brain. That's what Shabbos says. The wizard comes down and gives us all. And Hashem gives the Tin Man his heart. Yeah? And he says here, they said, we get a new brain, we get a new heart. We have new emotions, we can feel completely different. That's as far as the opportunity out there is, we can be completely different. I don't know how it goes, but I notice many people look different on Shabbos. Anybody else? You know, says that, but you see people look different. Maybe because they had to shave the whole week, they don't shave in the Shabbos. They clean shaven. Yeah. Some people, hey, Craig's looking good already. Yeah, some people they're a bit rough during the week, and suddenly they have this shave. You know, oh, you got a glowing face. Yeah, I don't know, shave. But actually, there is a glow on Shabbos. Somebody's connected. You can see. You look at people, and you can see there's the radiance of Shabbos. It's all there. Okay.
Is that, Robert Stepsky, is that
Yes.
then during the duration of Shabbat, or can you that that energy? You
It
just-
grows through Shabbos.
Okay, it grows
Through Shabbos. It
And
starts
then-
on Friday night.
Okay, and then after Shabbos, then.
Malav Mark, we're trying to consolidate it. We're trying to take that
We are.
and put it into the week as much as we can.
Okay.
That's what Malav Mark is. We try and
okay.
take that and we have a meal to try and put that into the week. Okay? But really it's actually the spiritual energy. Each meal, it's written in the Kabbalah, it says that the first Friday night meal, because we say in the Chadodi, Shabbat is Makor HaBracha, it's the source of all blessing, yeah? So it's the source of all blessing. So the Friday night meal is the source of all bracha, health, pranosa, everything good that we need, one needs, is Sunday and Monday. Yeah? Shabbos lunch is Tuesday, Wednesday. Suda Shlishis is where are we up to? Thursday, Friday. Okay, so that actually affects what we actually do in those meals. But the Kedusha Grow, we feel it more on Friday. Most people feel uplifted, connected on Shabbos because we feel the contrast between the weekday and the Shabbos. Shabbos morning, you're already eating too much on the Friday night and the heartburn and everything else, and too much whiskey, so we're numbed. Yeah, so it's important. If a person feels that, by the way, another thing I realised is actually not to have if you feel, sometimes we have vodka instead. That's how some Chassidim drink vodka. So whiskey can make you have that tiring feeling, yeah. So I know many Tzaddikim that don't eat much, even on Shabbos. We've used to a generation of incredible affluence. We eat so much on Shabbos. It doesn't say you've got to stuff yourself, does it? We eat too much, and actually we've become so physical through Shabbos that actually we can't connect. So actually it's important to be careful, how much we eat and how much we drink, because we can lose it all. Okay? That's the first thing. So the first level is that's what God produces outside. For Shomer, and that's nothing to do with Yisrael. That's just as Kodesh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, guard my Shabbos. The first is from God, as far as God is concerned, is there's this incredible energy, this incredible light which goes on, and it's all there. There's unification of mind, wisdom, and the heart all together. Everything comes clear, everything's filtered down. It's all there. It all happens. It's the Holy of Holies. That's the first part of Shabbos. The second part of Shabbos is for Shomru B'nai Yisrael. It's dependent on us, what level I'm on. B'nai Yisrael needs to guard Shabbos. La'asos is to do Shabbos. So two things. Number one, it's for us, and also to do Shabbos. So he brings down here a very beautiful thing here. So he said the second part here is that Shabbos actually is dependent on us. So one aspect, it's irrelevant what level we're on. That's from one perspective. That's from God's perspective. But there's another perspective that actually dependent on what level we're on. So he says here, it's all according to the level we're on. So he says that Shabbos is lasos. There is another aspect of Shabbos. It's not exclusive, but actually depends and completely dependent on us and how we make it. Lasot is from the word oseh, to do. The lowest world is the word called Asiya. There's 4 spiritual worlds. The lowest world is called Asiya. The next one is called Bria, Yetzira, and Atzilus. Those are the worlds of the angels, and the world next to the spiritual world next to Hashem. The lowest world is called the world of action. That's where we are. Lasos. It's all dependent on us. And what he says here is his followers is a Shomini Yisrael, it's a Shabbos, Lasos is Shabbos. We need to make Shabbos. It's dependent on us, but also tells us, Benisa, whatever level you're on, we can still connect with Shabbos. It will be dependent on our level. And that is the level of Shabbos. And he brings down here, so the Gemara says in Shabbos, he says, Kol Shomer Shabbos Kilchosa, anybody who keeps Shabbos according to the halacha, even if he serves idols, like the generation of Enosh, Moichenlai, he will be forgiven. That whatever sin we can do, there's an element of Shabbos. So whatever we do during the week, whatever's happened, last as the Shabbos can actually clear it all away. So he says it. So those are the two aspects of Shabbos. On one hand, there's an incredible light, incredible revelation, incredible energy of Shabbos, of Das, where we can get to know Hashem, to know ourselves, to get a clarity. It's all available during. That's one aspect of Shabbos. It's all there, and we can all connect with that. It's all there. It's just for us. Whatever level we're on, that's the one. And there's another aspect, there's another part of Shabbos that is dependent on us, depending how we make Shabbos. Do you follow? Everyone with it? So there's one aspect, it's free, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what you're on. The second aspect of Shabbos is there's a part of it which is dependent on us. So if you want the full part of it, obviously there's in other words, there's the freebie, right? And then there's the other part that we need to earn and work. That's what he brings down here. He says that's the beautiful idea. So, and he also just one idea which I need to finish with this, and this is a very easy trap to finish to fall into. You know, there's a lot of halachas of Shabbos, laws of Shabbos, 39 halachas, details of halachas, and it's very easy to learn the halachas of boirer, selecting good from the bad, good, etc. So many details, you can actually get lost on Shabbos. You actually, I can't do that. And you walk into shul, no, is that called running? Is that called, I'm not going to run. You can actually get so caught up in the detail of Shabbos. And he actually brings down here, he says that there's two parts of Shabbos. Shabbos isn't, there's just like there's a body and a soul. Every mitzvah has a body and a soul. So you've got tefillin, there's a physical act, there's the body that is wrapping the straps around. So same thing, Shabbos, what's the body of Shabbos? Keeping away from doing the technical things. Don't do this, don't do that, all the don'ts. Keep away from all those things. Yeah, do's, making kiddush, candles, eating the food, etc. And do the do's and don'ts. But that's only the physical part of Shabbos. What's the neshama of Shabbos?
Mindset.
What we'll be talking about, das. And it's very important that we shouldn't just keep Shabbos just on the practical thing without losing the soul of Shabbos. Right? It's the same thing. Davening could be the same thing. You've got your siddur and you're moving your lips and you're saying the words. That's just the body. It's like, what is a body without a soul, my friends? What does it look like?
Dead.
Exactly. A mitzvah, which is just the body without a soul, it's a piece of meat. So the same thing. So we need to have both aspects of Shabbos. And the base of every mitzvah that we do. Same thing when we daven, it needs kavanah, it needs a heart. And the same thing with Shabbos. So these things we discussed tonight. So maybe on Shabbos, I'm going to give you a little suggestion just to make it practical. And that is, you know, because it's very esoteric. So this concept of which is all external for us, Shabbos is there, but we need to plug into it. So one of the things is Shabbos can be very busy. There's a routine. One of the things, a couple of suggestions, and if anybody's got any other suggestions, please throw them out. One of the things is, on Shabbos, before you walk to shul, decide what you're going to think about. Don't just walk to shul and then your mind's all over the place and you're looking around you. Choose a concept. Whether to think about a relationship with Hashem, whether to think about something in our inner world and in life, or some area of some of them. It's to choose something before we think about it. Now, usually I say on the way to shul, because usually on the way home we're with other people, we're talking and schmoozing and everything else. But actually try and do that. And I've actually, Charles trying to walk to shul Shabbos morning, come on Friday when you're running, on the way to shul late. Anybody walk to shul Friday? Anyone on time? Just okay. So whatever time Shabbos is, always running late. So one of the things is just when you walk into shul, to choose that. They've got how long the shul is? 5 minutes walk. Yaakov, 25 minutes walk. How many shuls do you walk past to get to your shul? Right. That one, not that one. Yeah, that was you walk past. But use that time not just to look around, ears around. Just walk. By the way, you can do this during the week as well. Just when you're walking out, most people got their mobile phones or whatever, etc. Or listening to a shir. It's not always a good thing to listen to a shir. Have some space to think. Das, because das is an opportunity. It's actually just to process things. Actually, it's Shabbos. You can just walk around, and one of the things the Chassidim do on Shabbos, they just sing about Shabbos. Maybe we'll sing a little sing just about Shabbos. Just sing about the song of Shabbos. Just say the word Shabbos. Shabbos. Just the word Shabbos itself is just rears the gift of Shabbos Kodesh. Yeah, and so that's just one idea. Just to when you're walking to shul or walking back, or just to utilize those few minutes just to think, to contemplate. Or if there after is another beautiful time is with the candles on Friday night. After everybody's gone, or when you go back home, just to sit with the candles, something unique and special about those candles. Just to spend a few minutes with that lights of Shabbos shines into the soul, just to experience Shabbos. Just to experience, because actually we're so busy doing Shabbos, doing a people, and they're actually not with Shabbos. So you have to remember that we've got to be with Shabbos to feel the light, and that can only be done when a person's alone. So we need those. Life is all about, we're all busy being with everyone else. It's at us, but we need time to do that. It could be during davening, it could be during time. It could be, I find a good whiskey helps. Reaches you to the levels of relaxation. Relax you first. It's not big serious. That level. The whiskey is a tool for Shabbos, not the goal of Shabbos. The single malt puts you in, relaxes you, that you're in a good frame of das and in mind. All the connect those things. So those signs, Shabbos candles, and go for any other suggestions. Shabbos, anybody?
Greeting.
Greeting, go on.
Greeting. Every greeting should be good Shabbos. I always remember my father, when I was a kid, he never said good night on a Friday night.
Oh,
He'd go upstairs, good Shabbos.
right. It's actually you're actually fulfilling a mitzvah because it says in Shabbos, Zocher es Yom Shabbos, because you remember Shabbos. So every time you say good Shabbos, you're fulfilling that mitzvah.
You can say good night afterwards.
You can say good night afterwards, yeah. Just remember it, Shabbos, yeah, exactly. Gentlemen, shkoyach. Any questions? Anybody?
Quick one.
Another whiskey? Pass, please, pass.
You know, we're talking about extending Shabbos and things like that.
Yeah.
One thing that bothers me every week, and something I can't prevent really, is as soon as Shabbos comes out, the first thing you do, and I'm sure it's everyone here, is turn your phone on, right?
Oh.
Every
Washing
single-
up comes first.
Okay, well,
Don't have a dishwasher actually, yes, don't they?
you turn something off. And
Yeah.
so like it bothers me that like it's that mindset and
So you know, I do something and I give you the challenge.
yeah.
I have a thing, believe me, that I take on myself. I don't switch my phone until an hour after Shabbos.
That's not bad idea.
I just think it doesn't go until after Shabbos. You won't reach me. So if you want to come to my house, knock on the door, you won't give me on my mobile after. Oh, it's after Shabbos. So I'll check my phone. No, I don't put it on. And sometimes you get the itch to go. I put it away. Always put it away. Goes away. The drawer, it's not left out on the charger. Don't see it. Put it away. Just that you get that extra hour of Shabbos afterwards. You just keep it there with you. By the way, you can do this. You can have Shabbos during the week as well. You don't have to have Shabbos only on Shabbos. You know, Shabbos during the week is also switch your phone off. You don't have
During
to.
that one, you
Yeah.
switch your phone.
It is. It's a chance to know we've always got to be available and always, everyone wants to be there. But actually, that's one thing I find because actually, it's actually quite critical because one of the things is it's easy after a high and a connected Shabbos, then you go straight back into Earth. You know, come back into when the spaceship comes back into the atmosphere. Yeah, the explosion was the space shuttle comes back in. So actually, you can actually gain the effect can actually be worse. It's written down in one of the postscripts. It says that one of the time that people sin most. When's the time? When is it the most times? When did you sin the most? Motzei Shabbos. Most averos are Motzei Shabbos. I think. Sorry, you had some Eibishitz or Siddur Beis Yaakov. Rabbi Yaakov Emden, I think, right. That's it. There's a big look because the contrast, just like when Shabbos comes at Friday night, come we go, wow, if you have it. When Shabbos goes out, that's where we smell the basomim. But I've heard the name of Sadiq, the most important thing. That's why it's so important. Two things. Number one, Malav and Malka, have something, have a hot drink, have a piece of cake, have a cracker, have something, having this in order to honour the Gerem Shabbos. One. Number two is to learn something non-mystical or Kabbalistic only, and not even the written Torah, if oral Torah. Something from the oral tradition. That's what I was told in the name of Sadiqim. So, because that's the kelim that after Shabbos we've contained a lot of light. After we've got a lot of light, we need vessels. Do we need to build vessels? What builds vessels? Torah Shabbal Peh. So Mishnah, learn the Mishnah Pregaz, learn Mishnahs, learn Gemara, learn Halacha, those things, right? And points. If you learn Chumash with Rashi, that's Torah Shabbal Peh. So those things build the vessels because we want to continue that light into the week.